right, welcome back to episode 3 of Bull in the Ring. And so we're just here today, and today we are going to talk about OU and their 2018 season and kind of do a recap because Kyler, he is a big prospect going into this year's NFL Combine Draft. So this is Elliot here. Got anything to say? Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Elliot. Coming here with a third episode of Bull in the Ring, and just excited to do another show.
And over here we got my dad.
Howdy, I'm Joe Senior and Bull in the Ring. Here we go, third round. And
hey, tell us. Actually, he came up with the name Bull in the Ring.
all right, Bull in the Ring was back in the day, back in high school. We got guys in a circle. The coach would get us all in a circle and it'd get one guy in the middle, and he'd count off a number for each one of us. And then he'd call your number out, blow a whistle, and you got to go out and hit the guy in the middle. That was called Bull in the Ring. And then he'd call another number. And the guy in the middle, man, he took all the hits. He took about 10 hits from all the guys, and it got pretty tough. Everybody was hitting pretty hard, and it got a little physical. So sometimes you get knocked on the ground. If you're on the ground and the coach blew the whistle, you could hit him while he's still on the ground or getting up. So it got pretty intense. So it made you tough. Made you tough for football, because football ain't nothing but hitting. A lot of hitting going on. So yeah, it was a good exercise, and it was good for the teams.
I think most teams have kind of outlawed that now. I don't think a lot of teams do that anymore. So I was actually talking to I met a guy who played for Kansas University in I think 2008 when they won the Orange Bowl, and I was asking him about that, and he said I don't think they do that anymore. So
Wow.
but anyways, let's start it off with OU. Their first game, they played Florida Atlantic University, and the score was 63-14. Do you remember much from that game?
What I remember is just that it was like, I was obviously Kyler's first game, and that first game there was just like a lot of question marks just with him coming, being the quarterback, and Baker Mayfield, was the starter for two years, and anytime there's a change at quarterback, there's always a big question mark, like how's this guy gonna turn out? And so a lot of people, had question marks on Kyler, and so that was very exciting was to see how the offense was going to roll with him, and just and like everyone's seen, he just came out and just picked up where Baker left off.
One play that I really liked that Kyler did, he did this scramble thing, and he scrambled like all the way from the left side all the way to the right side, probably like a 20-yard run, and that's when they were really comparing him to Baker during that play that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next game they went on to play UCLA, and they won 49-21 in that game. Any reminders of that game that you could think of?
What was the other running back's name that got hurt?
Anderson.
Anderson got hurt in that game, I think.
Rodney Anderson.
Rodney got hurt. And, I seen that play where he tried to make a cut, and then when he did, his leg just kind of gave out, and it wasn't good. And after that play, I think that kind of took the season for him. So yeah, that wasn't too good when they played UCLA. But they still won the game. But Kyler is faster than Baker, but Baker, I think, he was good too in his time. I mean, OU, both of them are very accurate throwers.
Yeah. And yeah, too bad that Rodney Anderson got hurt, because I think he would went on to be a great running back for OU for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah.
Iowa State, they played Iowa State next. Iowa State, and they won 37-27, but that game was really close, I believe.
Yeah. Just what I remember from that game is just that, Iowa State is a tough team in the Big 12, and the year before we lost to them, and so that for me coming into this year that was a kind of game for me to kind of circle on the schedule. I'm like, wow, this is gonna be a tough game, and they came out and Iowa State has a tough defense, and didn't just let OU just like run all over them. They made it tough for OU, and but eventually, we got the W. But I just remember, Iowa State just being pretty balanced, pretty good defense, and and pretty good offense.
And then we come to the fourth game, which was the Army game. And actually, I was able to attend that game. Me and Elliot were able to attend that game. And one thing about that game, it was on pay-per-view. So a lot of people didn't get to watch that game. But Army was tough in that game. Army was really tough. They kept running the option play. They kept it close. They ran the ball pretty much majority of the game. I think even at going into the fourth quarter, it was still just like 21-21. And it was a tough game for OU's defense.
It was like the wishbone was kind of like coming back to OU, and the only thing is Army ran the wishbone, and they ran it pretty good. So, they didn't lose very many games. I don't think they only lost one game, 2 games in the rest of the season. They won. So the old wishbone, the old Barry Switzer days with, Joe Washington and all the running backs that ran the wishbone back in the day. Some of the guys that ran it. They were just, they were good, man. They were good running the wishbone, OU was, and kind of come back and haunted them a little bit there when Army came to town.
Yeah, I thought that was a great game, and like my dad was saying, Army ran that ran the wishbone or ran that heavy run triple option offense, and kind of like an old school offense, and just kind of grinded OU. And a question I had for Joe, me and Joe and my dad, we were talking, was like, is that one of the best OU games that wasn't like televised, like on just like regular cable television? You had to get it on pay-per-view. And then I was telling my brother, I was like, man, that game was so awesome. And we went and seen it live, got tickets and seen it. And I was like, man, I feel bad for people who missed that game. They didn't listen to it on radio, or, they just missed it. They just had to get the score. But to me, that was one of the best OU games, just in general, like I've seen in the past few years. And I felt like the television, dropped the ball on that one. No one picked that game up, but it was as far as entertainment value, is one of the most. It was, I wouldn't say it kind of lulled you for the first 3 quarters, but then the fourth quarter was just the entertainment just shot up.
And OU did have a chance to win it, but they I think they kicked a field goal and they missed it, and then they went to overtime after that. And then OU ended up throwing a pass, I think, right away and scoring. And then Army, instead of running it, they tried to throw the ball, I think, a couple of times at the last, and finally OU ended up intercepting it. And so that was the final part of the game. But as the games went by, I kept following Army, and they kept winning and winning and winning. And so because they were trying to say maybe OU didn't have a good team because they just barely beat Army, but Army never lost a game after that, and they ended up going to the Armed Forces Bowl where they played Houston, and they ended up winning that game 70-14 over Houston. So that was a great game.
Yeah, and that game, well, I just want to say I had to listen to it on the radio because I didn't get the pay-per-view because I didn't think Army was going to be that good. I thought OU would blow them out, so I missed out on that. I should have got the game, but when I was listening to it, the guys on the radio were saying Army kept the ball and OU never got the ball, and Army had the ball, and they would just drive, and they would, like, they took up the whole third quarter. I mean, with the ball, they just kept the ball and just kept driving and driving, a little here, a little there with their fullback, running that fullback option up the middle, and they would just it would be like 3rd down and 10, and they would get a first down, and then the next play OU would hold them, and it'd go another 3rd down and like 12 or something, and they would get the first down, and they just kept going, and they would score. And OU's offense is so good that they go down and score, but when Army got the ball, they would just keep the ball, and it just made it a really close game. and the radio guys on the stage, they were just going crazy on that game. It was pretty interesting. Listen to the radio, to the OU commentaries. They were so good. It was a I could tell them it was a great game on TV, but also it was pretty good on radio too.
Yeah.
And the time of possession was Army had the ball for 44 minutes and 41 seconds, and then OU only had the ball for 15 minutes and 19 seconds. So.
It did. They had it all the time. They had the ball. They couldn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I think a couple of our Kenneth Murray had, I think, a game high of like 28 or 29 tackles in that game. So.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
So, right. Let's go back. Let's go to our next game, which was Baylor, and they ended up beating Baylor 66-33 in that game. And then let's just skip that game, and we'll go right into the Red River rivalry when they played Texas, and they went down there, and that's when they ended up losing, and they lost 48-45. What do you think about the highlights from that game? We were watching those earlier.
The Red River rivalry.
Yeah.
Man, I just thought Texas kind of dominated that game. They kind of took the driver's seat and jumped out on OU early and just kind of held that lead. And so I thought Texas kind of had our number that game.
Yeah, they did, and also they went up by 3 scores in the fourth quarter with only 8 minutes left, and everybody thought it was over. But then OU slowly started getting scores, and they ended up tying it with 2 minutes left to go in the game. But then their defense couldn't hold Texas, and then Texas, I think they brought it down to the 30, 14 seconds left, and then Dicker, their kicker, ended up kicking that field goal, and they ended up winning it 48-45.
Yeah, we had Chad, my other son. He was at the game, and he said they were leaving the game, and they watched it on a monitor down below the stadium at the Cotton Bowl, and they could not believe that OU had came back. Kyler Murray ran, what was that? He ran that end around there about, I don't know how many yards, about 40-something yards.
40 yards, yeah.
And they were back in the game. The momentum changed. If the OU's defense could have held, they could have took it in overtime or won the game. So that was a great comeback. It just they fell short.
Yeah, they did fall short in that game. But it was, if OU would have played some defense maybe and not let them score those 3 touchdowns, then it probably would have been a different game. But
yeah,
luckily they get to play them again. And so then the next game is TCU. Which was they went to TCU and they won 52-27. Do you remember anything from that game significant? How TCU was? I thought TCU was gonna play tough this year, but they didn't really live up to the hype this year. And so OU ended up, even though OU played TCU twice last year, they pretty much dominated that game.
I think the biggest thing I remember from that game was that was Ruffin McNeil's first game as interim defensive coordinator, and I just remember that time span from the end of the Red River rivalry when Mike Stoops got fired, and between TCU in that TCU game, and just the drama that just went on of just Mike Stoops being fired at that time and Ruffin becoming the interim, and it was just like really big news here in Oklahoma, and just everyone couldn't, everyone was talking about it, and so it was just a big question mark as to what the new defense was going to look like under Ruffin.
Yeah. What do you think about the Mike Stoops being fired?
The Mike Stoops. Well, it hit the radio stations pretty hard on that, and I listened to the Animal, and yeah, I got pretty heated on there. They had a pretty good conversation going, and on some of the celebrities on there, and it just got where Mike was gone, and it was kind of a bad situation, but it is what it is. Mike, I think it might have been time for him to go, but I don't know. The Texas game is a tough game to really coach the defense, and what personnel he did have. It kind of looked bad on his part, but also OU's defense personnel not up to par like they usually are, year in, year out. So that did have a question mark there when they let him go. So I thought that was kind of hard right there in the middle of a season to let a coach like Mike Stoops go.
And then after that, they played Kansas State. They ended up winning 51-14. And then right after that, they played Texas Tech, and they ended up winning 51-46. And they went. Did they play that one in Lubbock? Do you remember?
I believe that was in Lubbock.
Lubbock, yeah. They went down to Lubbock and played. One of the last times that Cliff Kingsbury was going to be their coach. And then we get down to the Bedlam game, which was Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And so they came down here, and OU barely ended up winning that game, 48-47. And so that was a close game to the very end, and that game could have went either way. Oklahoma State, they had the chance to win that game, but they didn't. So, and it came down to the last play when they just had they went for a 2-point conversion. But no, they went for a 2-point conversion. The only reason that Oklahoma State was going for a 2-point conversion is because their kicker, Amendola, kept missing field goals during the game. And so Mike didn't want to chance it no more, Mike Gundy, for the coach for Oklahoma State. And so that's why they went for the 2 points. But I think the quarterback missed through it, and otherwise it should have been an easy catch because nobody was around him. So.
Well, he threw the ball in the back of his heels. OU did put a little pressure on him, and then he when he threw it, he had the zip, but not enough zip, and it fell short right. I mean, it was just another fraction of an inch or something. He would have caught it and they would have won, but unfortunately it was bad for OSU, but that was one of the better games.
Yeah, that was a really tough game, and if OU would have lost that, they probably wouldn't have made it to the Final Four this year. So it was a really key game, and OSU definitely had OU on the ropes, and they definitely had every chance to win it. And I think Mike Gundy came out with a good strategy for that game, and really let Corndog, what's his name? Anyways,
that's his nickname.
OSU's
they call him that.
OSU's quarterback really let him throw it all over the field, and OU's defense, as y'all seen this year, pass defense was not really very good. So OSU kind of just had their way and was just scoring at will. So
yeah, OSU was throwing the ball down. Well, it was like what, 4th down and 10 or something, and they got a 1st down or something. He threw a desperado shot, and I got caught it and got a 1st down, and that's how. And then the next play they scored. So yeah, he was throwing the ball all over the field for OSU.
His name is Taylor Cornelius.
Yeah, Taylor. They call him Corndog.
They call him Corndog. And then the next week they played Kansas, which they won 55-40, and they pretty much right then you can kind of tell like the breakdown of OU's defense was really, you could tell how really bad they were when they let Kansas score 40 points.
Yeah.
So and then they went on to play I think it was like number 13 West Virginia, and they ended up barely winning that game 59-56. Yeah, that was a really close game. I can't remember really much about that. Do you remember really much of that game?
West Virginia game. I remember there were some key turnovers we had to get to win that game. Even from our defense that wasn't playing very well, they were still able to get. I think they got some sacks or an interception, and just enough to win. And so that was kind of like the third game that OU had to where they're just barely winning.
There were shootouts. They were
shootouts, basically.
They were a shootout. A lot of their games were shootouts. They were down to the end.
Yeah.
Gunslinger. They were just slinging that ball everywhere.
Yeah, the strategy was to outscore the opponent, not really stop them. We couldn't stop anyone.
Yeah.
And so our strategy this year was just to outscore.
If we could outscore them with Kyler.
Yeah.
And then the last game, the Big 12 championship, we ended up playing Texas again. And that game ended up being a 39-27 victory in Jerry's World.
Yeah.
That was a great game.
That was a good game.
It was. Well, the one play that stands out is when the quarterback, what's the quarterback from Texas?
Ellinger.
Ellinger was back here in the end zone, and he was getting ready to pass, and then one of the OU guys just shot in there, red dogged him, and came in there, blitz, whatever you want to call it, and he didn't even see him coming, and he got a safety on him right there and just threw him in the end zone, and that was kind of the mode. The mode just kind of changed right there.
And what set that up is when I think C.D. Lamb was about to score and he got tackled at the 5-yard line and he ended up fumbling the ball, and so that's when Texas got that ball, and so to go 95 yards the other way, and then he was in the end zone, and that guy came up and sacked him, so took him down.
Yeah, what's ironic is like we're talking about OU's defense is that as bad as they were, it was like their defense throughout the season that they would make, even though they were bad, they would make like key stops or do something to where they would do just enough to where we would win. So like they were saying, like we made a key sack in the end zone, and to help us win that game.
Yep, and that's what ended up winning it right there, pretty much.
Yeah, OU's defense. Yeah, OU's defense would come through when when you wouldn't think they were going to come through, they would come through on a really good play, and sometimes that's what helped them win a game.
Mm-hmm.
Even though their defense was so terrible,
yeah, they were.
They would always figure out some way to get a stop when they needed it. And so that, I think that's how they won the Big 12,
And I think that's when Marquise Brown or Hollywood Brown, then he hurt his foot in that game, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's where he got injured.
He got injured in that game. So.
Well, he's not going to be in the Combine, is he?
The Combine? He's not going to be. I think he's having foot surgery.
He's having surgery? Okay.
Foot surgery, yeah. And then the last game, of course, is the Orange Bowl against Alabama, and they lost 34-45.
34-45, yeah.
What hurt him in that game?
The first quarter, we lost the game in the first quarter, or how can I put it? Yeah, Bama just jumped out on us and scored 21, I believe, and
28, I think.
28.
28 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
We were just fighting our way to come back the rest of that game, and
Terrible.
just didn't have enough time to come back. So it was a fight the whole way after they lost that. And plus our defense was horrible. So
yeah, same thing.
Yeah,
no linebacker play.
No linebacker play at all.
What sticks out to me in that game, me and Dad were talking about it, was that all Alabama had to do offensively was throw I believe it was just an in route, I think, and they were just
slant pass, yeah,
just a slant. All they were doing was just throwing slants. Tua would just drop back, throw a little 5-yard slant, and that guy would just cut up field, and that was it. And I was like, wow, we couldn't defend that, and just that on offense we would orchestrate these like really methodical drives, and you get to see how great Lincoln Riley's offense is. The mixture of run plays and pass plays, and all the different getting all these different weapons involved, the running backs, the receivers, and so we would score and kind of like it's like a shootout with Alabama, and it became that as the game progressed. We were scoring, and then Bama, when they'd get the ball, then they weren't they didn't have to be as creative to score. All they had to do was throw slants, and then our defense was just getting run over, and just it was hard as a fan. That was a hard game to watch. Just a helpless feeling.
Yeah, Kyler kind of had the first quarter jitters. He was real tight in that first quarter, and he just could not. He couldn't. His passes were wasn't crisp, and he was off. He was off a little bit, and Bama just took advantage of that. Mm-hmm. They just it'd be 3 and out, and then as soon as they'd be 3 and out, they'd have to kick, and then Alabama would just go back down there and score. It was he couldn't keep the momentum going where they usually they go down a Big 12 game, they'd go down and score pretty easy, but not against Alabama. Alabama's defense was a little bit tougher.
So that ends the season for 2018. And then, so currently out of that season, Kyler Murray, he's going to the combine. Cody Ford. It was going to be Marquise Brown, aka Hollywood Brown, but he's having surgery, so he's not going. So Kyler's been the talk of the combine, so hopefully he'll do good coming up in this combine the next week.
So those are the top three guys that are going into the NFL draft.
Yep.
They'll probably be first rounders.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think, Marquise, even though he's, not going to be able to go to the combine, or I don't think he's going to do a pro day either. He's, his body of work, is going to speak for itself. And so people are going to take it. He's going to get a shot, and,
Yeah, I think there might be one more. I think Rodney Anderson's going to.
oh, Rodney. So that's good. Rodney, we talked about him, how he went down early in the season. So he's going to still get a shot at the next level. So, that's good for OU fans. We get to see, Rodney progress in his career.
So that's it for episode 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, just subscribe to us, and then get some notifications every time we put out a video. But that's gonna be all for today, and we'll see you guys next time.